Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petite to Queen's Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Amanda, and I'm filling in while our regular host, Lynn, is away. And I'm joined by our special guest, Julie Scott. Julie is a life coach who thrives on helping mature women prioritize their needs and gain confidence so they can stop worrying about being enough and start living life. A self-proclaimed FeelGood junkie, Julie is someone who personally experienced decades of struggling with people-pleasing, overgiving, and low self-esteem. And the end of her marriage was the wake-up call she needed to change her future. By uncovering unhealthy beliefs and patterns, Julie has learned to accept, trust, and love herself, and she's helped hundreds of other women do the same through her free Facebook group and private and group coaching sessions. She also wrote the book, This Time It's About You, a journey from no I can't to yes I can. Today, we're going to be talking about how to give yourself permission to want more out of this life and ultimately become what Julie calls a feel-good junkie. So welcome, Julie. We're so excited to have you on this call today.
Oh, Amanda, thank you so much for having me. It's just a pleasure to be here, and I love talking about this stuff, so I'm a total chatty Cathy, so let's go.
That would be perfect for our podcast. So before we get started, if any of our listeners are joining for the first time, make sure you don't miss a single episode by subscribing to our Claim Your Career Crown podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And while we're on the subject, please take a second to give us a 5-star review because we would really appreciate that. Okay, so let's dive in.
Yeah.
So Julie, with a pandemic and never-ending quarantine, a lot of us feel compelled to look on the bright side and focus on what we have instead of what we don't. This is definitely a good thing to do, but you encourage women to want more. What do you mean by that? And how does wanting more improve women's lives?
Well, let's just for a second, the quarantine, I mean, it's been a challenge, absolutely. And, I don't want to just be one of those people that's just like, stay positive, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you really have to be intentional, I think, about your thoughts, especially during these kinds of times. But this too shall pass. So I'm looking forward to life getting back to whatever the next iteration of life is going to look like after this. But with regard to your question, I'm all for a positive outlook, and being grateful for what you have in life. It's the way to feel abundant in life. I mean, I do it daily in my meditations to feel, I feel abundant by being grateful for what I've got. But what I mean is, don't let the positivity and gratitude stand in the way of what you truly desire in life. I know this kind of kept me stuck for a while, thinking, I should be grateful for what I've got. I should just shut up and keep my head down and, continue on with life and not want more. But I believe it is possible to be happy and grateful and want more in life. And allowing yourself to want more, I think, is tied to feeling that you deserve more and are worth more. And that's where I think a lot of us, especially women, get tripped up, thinking that maybe they're not enough, right? So it doesn't mean that you're being greedy by wanting more. But wanting more helps us to push ourselves, I think, to rise up, to become a better version of ourselves, and translates into every area of our life. Really, it's like our health, our relationships, our wealth, our legacy, whatever that is. It also makes us better people, I think, and we inspire those people around us, whether it's our sisters, our daughters, our all the people around us, to expand into a more fulfilled version of themselves too. So I think it creates a ripple effect. It's good for everyone, and it makes you feel better about yourself and your life. So
yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think it's good to be grateful, of course, but it can kind of lead you to kind of not achieving more, not gaining new experiences, and just kind of, I don't know, settling maybe a little bit.
100% staying stuck.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. I think wanting more really just pushes you to grow and to, I don't know, just gain so much more that you never thought you could achieve necessarily.
Yeah. Something that I want to share with you just made me think of that I wasn't planning on sharing, but I'm going to. One of the exercises that I put my clients through to help them get a grip on what it is that they want, I have them take a look at their life, and I have them go through something called SQUAT. And it's not SQ, it's SCWT. And it's look around your life and look at where you're settling.
Mm-mm.
Look at where you're compromising. Look at where you're waiting, and look at what you're tolerating. And it's like, and it's not about being a Debbie Downer looking at your life that way, but if you look at your life through a lens that way, it starts to help you uncover areas where you do want more, and you
Yeah.
can kind of give yourself a little bit of a push in that direction to see, based on that squat exercise. It helped me a lot to put
Yeah.
myself through that, so I just want to share that. Just came
Yeah,
to mind.
that sounds really helpful. I'm sure our audience would love to try to go through that exercise themselves. So, does wanting more ever lead to guilt? And what are some of the ways that guilt maybe shows up in women's lives?
Oh my God, does wanting more lead to guilt? Yes, 100%, 150%. In fact, guilt shows up, I call it, as the driver of the people pleaser's bus.
Mm.
In fact, guilt drives the people pleaser. So many of us are running on guilt. I should do this, I should do that, I should go ahead and commit to being an attorney because I went to school, even though I hate studying law. I should stay in this soul sapping job because I make a lot of money here. I should, go and visit my parents, or they're going to think I'm a bad daughter. Or, I should
Yeah.
stop chasing after this silly dream of mine and, go ahead and get married and have kids and get the 2.2 kids in the house and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we do it to ourselves. I mean, I did it to myself, especially in my own marriage. It's like, I should stay
Mm.
married to this guy because he's actually a good guy. And everyone likes him, even though our marriage is, I feel, disconnected from him, and maybe I won't find anyone else. I mean, it's crazy,
Right.
just what you tell yourself. It's that story that runs through your head. So absolutely, guilt leads to
Mm.
all of that. So feeling
Yeah,
bad,
definitely.
wanting more leads to guilt. That was the question. So
Yeah, no, I think that's something I experienced too. Some years ago, I had a job that it was in the career that I wanted to be in, what I had studied when I was in college, and the job that I had just made me feel so miserable. It felt like a soul-sucking job, but I felt guilty wanting to quit after I'd only been there for like 5 or 6 months. And I was like, oh, I
right.
can't quit this job. I worked so hard for it. I'll just, put my head down and just get through it. But I couldn't do it. It was like it was making me depressed. And eventually, like my husband and my mom and my sister, they're all like, "You need to quit that job. It's not good for you." But like I felt guilty about that because I thought, but I need to have an income. I need to, advance in the career that I studied for, and it was just really hard for me.
Did you
So
also have fear around not finding a better job?
yeah, I did. I mean, it took me a few years to even get that job to get my foot in the door of that industry, and I thought if I quit this job, I'll never be successful in this industry. So.
Yeah. And aren't you the most convincing person you've ever met?
Exactly. Yeah,
I am so
nothing takes you back but
convincing.
yourself. Yeah,
Yeah. I take
yeah,
everything right to the grave. It's like, oh, it's going to be so bad if I do this, but it's so, the things that we're afraid of. I mean, 95% of the time, I think I had a sticky note that said 95% of what I worry about never happens.
yeah.
And it,
It's
it
so
is so
true.
true. It's
We
crazy.
just build catastrophes in our head and they never actually happen.
We do. We're kind of wired that way, though, to think the worst. Unfortunately, it's like
Yeah.
I used to say, what's the worst thing that can happen? I always thought that was a good way of thinking about things because it could maybe turn you around. But now I
Mhm.
say, what's the best thing that can
Yeah.
happen? And if
Yeah.
you just shift your perception to think about what's the best thing that can happen, it's like, wow, it really opens up the possibilities. So,
Yeah. That feels so much more positive. I like that.
and light, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
So you said that guilt is related to people pleasing. What does
yeah.
it mean to be a people pleaser, and how does that help us or hinder us? And what role does that play in the guilt that we have about wanting more?
I call myself a recovering people pleaser. And, the more that I think about this, the more I realize that we're kind of trained to be people pleasers when we're kids, right?
Mm.
So if you think about it, your parents tell you to do things that as a kid you totally don't want to do, right? I mean, like clean your room, go to school, study, any of those things. But we do what we're told to do. We kind of, push down our own desires of what we really want to do, like we want to play. But I mean, I understand why parents do that. I had to do it myself, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's like it sets you up because the thing is that you're doing what you don't want to do so that you can be accepted you can be loved, you can not get in trouble, you can belong, which is one of those, what is it called? Like one of our primal needs is to belong, right, to the tribe. Because if we don't belong to the tribe, we could die, right? I mean, that's the whole idea from when we were, cavemen and cave women, right? But so I thought a lot about this. It's like we're trained to be it as kids, and some people break out of it, and other people kind of carry on with it. And I was one of those people that kind of carried that into my adult life of, wanting people. It kind of goes into wanting people to like me, right? Yeah. It also goes, and being a people pleaser isn't just not being able to say no. And I think that a lot of people have it in their head that that's just what it is, but it's so much deeper than that. It's like, I mean, I've studied this, I read about it, I wrote my book around part of this too. It's like, you people pleasers, you start agreeing with everyone around you. It's like you don't want to rock the boat, so you don't really speak up and say what's really true for you, right? You want everyone to like you, so you kind of just go along. And for me, that turned into like decades of pretending that I was happy, which is like, and I mean, I think about it now and I'm just like, my mind is blown of how many times I just pushed down my own needs, wants, and desires of wanting more in my life, just because I didn't want to seem high maintenance. I didn't want to seem like, just a high maintenance woman, or just a fussy, or, whatever. I mean, it's just amazing to me how, again, what I told myself, what I needed to do in order to keep everyone around me happy. And that was the other thing too. I lost myself in other people, in taking care of stepchildren, my husband, my family, my job, my coworkers. It was, and once I started recognizing this was going on, it was in every area of my life.
Wow.
I was lousy with people pleasing. It was crazy, but yeah. Did I answer the second question? I think I did.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's something I kind of relate to too. I mean, I think I was always a people pleaser. I think when I was younger, especially, it was kind of tied up in my shyness. I was very introverted, and I was afraid that if I said anything, people would not like me if I disagreed with them. And so I just agreed with them, and I went with the flow, and didn't want to make waves so that people would accept me and like me. And
yeah,
I think that carried on into my work too. I think even in my current job, when I first got it, I wouldn't disagree with my boss because I didn't want that to cause problems or me to get fired or something. Right. So I would just agree with them. But then I realized that sometimes you have to disagree. You can do it nicely, but doing so kind of it lifts everyone up. It lifts yourself up, definitely. But I mean, everyone can improve from it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that whole speaking up, not speaking up for myself too. It's like, I know I got passed over for promotions at work. I didn't ask for what I thought I was worth. I mean, the thing is that I didn't realize that I was even doing any of this until it was like, just before I was about 40, that I had a pretty decent life. I was like, why am I so unhappy? But it was that underlying hum of just not ever really putting myself first, not ever really saying what I wanted. It was a slow burn for me, but it's absolutely something that I think most people could just take a look at. There's a few questions they could ask themselves, and they could uncover a lot for themselves that way. So anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a learning process too.
100%.
Like you might notice it, but it takes time to kind of get out of the habit of people pleasing.
Yeah, it's a lifelong process. Yeah. I still find myself catching myself, and I catch myself faster now, but and I think the beginning of learning how to get out of people pleasing, just for whatever it's worth, is you just start small. Like you don't, especially if you start with people who are less scary to say no to, for example. Start on that outer ring of people in your life, and then you work towards the center. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So how can we give ourselves permission to want more? I think you have 3 methods. Can you describe them here?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really just recognizing what you're telling yourself. I just jotted down a couple of notes. Number 1, you've got to stop beating yourself up for wanting more. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't make you ungrateful for what you do have. It makes you human. really,
Yeah.
to want more. We all have desires. And the more we push them aside, the more powerful they become. It's like what you resist persists. Again, it's all those things that I pushed down for years. That's what made me so unhappy because I was ignoring it, right? So, and again, if you aren't addressing the desires that you truly have in your life, it starts showing up in other ways, like in physical ailments. I mean, honestly, it's like when people are stuffing, it's like stuffing emotions, stuffing your true desires. It's like it shows up in illness and ailments in your body. And not to mention the underlying feeling of just being angry, bitter, and resentful, which
Yeah.
doesn't make you a very fun person to be around. So that's the first thing. Stop beating yourself up. The second thing, stop comparing yourself to others, right? This
Yeah.
is another thing that I was so guilty of. Just because other people have it worse than you doesn't negate your desires, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just because you were fortunate enough to live in the United States, for example, and not in a third world country doesn't mean that you can't want more for yourself in your life. So it's like this, the comparison never is a good thing anyways, but especially if you're wanting more in your own life, you've got to stop comparing yourself to others. And again, whether it's you want more money, a more fulfilling job, or a more loving relationship, or just more joy and fun in your life, it's like it's okay for you to want more, no matter what's going on for anyone else around you. The third thing is stop ignoring how you feel. Okay. Your feelings are real and valid, and no one else needs to give you, agree with you or give you their approval for what it is that you feel, right? So you are worthy and deserving of not only your feelings, but whatever you desire as well. So those are the three things. Stop beating yourself up, stop comparing yourself to others, and stop ignoring how you feel. And you'll be able to set yourself free to actually want more and just give yourself permission to want more in life.
Yeah, no, those are really great steps. I think the last one makes me think of something my sister said recently. She said that she was kind of gaslighting herself about how she felt about things. She's like, no, I don't actually feel that way. But yes, you really did. And that's something you have to acknowledge and work through and make changes accordingly. I think it's so easy to
Absolutely.
gaslight. Yeah.
Yeah, I see so many people doing that, and unfortunately, no one can tell them that they're doing that. They have to recognize it for themselves, which is obviously more powerful if you recognize something for yourself. But it's so painful to watch someone doing that. When you see what they're doing, you just want to help them, but you gotta just sit back and just wait that they wake up.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. It really is frustrating.
It's true. It's so true. So you describe yourself as a feel-good junkie. How did wanting more lead you to seeking out good feelings, and how can others pursue feel-good moments and experiences themselves?
Well, I'll tell you what, and I came up with Feel Good Junkie because I really just now run my life by going after things that just do make me feel good, right? I mean, and that really is about getting honest with myself about what I want. Because I think so many women I work with, I'll just ask them, what do you want? And they're like, oh, I don't know. But I can ask them, what don't you want? And they know all of that. They know everything they don't want, but they don't know what they want, right? But it absolutely set me free once I shifted to making feeling good as my North Star, because everything that I was doing in my life didn't feel good. Right. So it's kind of the method that I use with my clients when they tell me they don't know what they want. It's like they know what they don't want. So it's what makes you not feel good versus what makes you feel good. I mean, it's kind of an easier way to, and I guess it just feels less confronting, like they have to figure something out, because you know what it's like to when you feel good, when something feels good, and when something doesn't feel good. And it also helps them to tap more into their intuition, which I'm always encouraging more people in general to do. But yeah, feeling good, it covers every area of your life, especially your physical. Like, because for me, when things aren't going well in my life, I feel it in my stomach first. And my stomach is the very first indicator that something is off, that I need to look around. Either I'm compromising something, or I'm settling, I'm waiting, I'm tolerating, right? And it's like it's all connected. It's like if you check in with and use that feeling good, it really does sets you free to go after the things that you do want in life and allow yourself to want more, because you're just going out because I just want to feel good, right? And it kind of it gives you permission just to feel good. So I hope that answers the question.
I really like that. Do you find that when you're, when you're following that North Star of feeling good, do you think that everything else in life kind of falls into line if you do that? Like, does everything kind of like a domino effect, maybe?
It kind of does. I mean, it really does. In fact, I never thought about it that way, but it really does, because it's almost like getting clear on a value. Like if you know what your values are in life, if you value feeling good, I created that as a value for myself. It's like, yes. And then it's like the litmus test for everything in my life that I'm going after. And it does end up transforming every area of your life, because you're checking in against that feeling good North Star, and yeah, everything falls into place. I never thought about it that way. I like that.
Oh, my
God. I really like that.
I didn't articulate it very well, but I had it.
No, you totally did. No, you absolutely did. I really like that so much.
Yeah, I like that. So what value does being a feel-good junkie add to your life and to the lives of the women that you coach? And why should our audience want to become feel-good junkies?
I mean, come on, who doesn't want to feel good?
Right.
But I mean, I think, right? I mean, everyone wants to feel good. I mean, that is a universal thing that everyone can kind of nod their head to. It's like, yeah, I want to feel good, and it's a definite thing. It's not something to question. It's like like I said before, when you feel good and when you don't feel good, right? And it's like, and I think more than anything else, and we touched on this earlier, it's about being honest with yourself, not gaslighting, right? Not, talking yourself into something. It's like being real and honest with yourself first. It's like, and then everything kind of comes from there. But yeah, it's absolutely sets my clients free. It set me free in my life. And I just want to shout it from the mountaintops, because it's just a way of living. And it's certainly something that we definitely could promote to the universe. It wouldn't hurt a soul, that's for sure. So
yeah, well, I think it's a great message, and I think it's something that people need to hear more of. I don't think there's enough people out there telling you that you deserve to feel good and you should go after that. But I love that that's a message that you're getting out there into the world.
100%. Yeah, thank you.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for sharing how we can let go of guilt and people pleasing to instead pursue more in life and become feel good junkies. I'm sure our listeners are going to want to know where they can find out more about you. Can you tell us where you are on the internet?
Absolutely. My business name my website is called itsaboutttimebaby.com. And I just love the name of my business, because it's like, it's about time, baby, right? It's about time, baby. And really the best place to connect with me beyond my website, because there you can sign up for my email list and things like that. And there's also a lot of freebies on there that they can check out and take advantage of. But also I've been really loving my Facebook community, and it's called The Confident Women's Community. Because really, when you feel good, you feel confident, and it just kind of opens up the doors for everything else in your life. And in there, I do a lot of trainings, free trainings. I do interviews with experts and thought leaders, and just ordinary people who just share their stories of how they became their own feel-good junkies. Some of them are my clients. And I just enjoy having conversations in there, and just do whatever I can to add value to that group, because I love my ladies in there. So I would love if they connected with me in there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Absolutely. And for everyone listening, we're going to have those links in our post, so you'll be able to find them very easily. So this has been such an informative discussion. And for everyone listening, do you have any ideas that you would like to share? Chime off in the comment section, because we'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have a question that you would like to suggest, there's something. Okay, it's fine. Okay. And if you have a question or would like to suggest topics for discussion, please email us at jointheconversation@petitetoqueen.com. And finally, to stay current on all of our insightful advice and breakthrough advantages and content like this podcast here, please sign up for our weekly wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. Thanks for listening, everyone.